The world stopped. The internet collapsed under the weight of one single moment. Kendrick Lamar, the torchbearer of a new generation. Rakim, the God MC, the architect of it all. When they stepped on stage together, hip-hop didn't just trend, it detonated. Millions of tweets, streams spiking by the second. Entire timelines flooded with one question. Did we just witness the greatest moment in rap history? This wasn't nostalgia. This wasn't hype. This was legacy, colliding with destiny. And as Rakim's timeless flow intertwined with Kendrick's razor-sharp delivery, the internet couldn't keep up. The servers melted, the feeds exploded, and a truth became undeniable. Hip-hop may never top this night. The culture may never recover. And the crown may finally belong to not one, but two legends. Hashtag Kendrick and RAKIM hashtag greatest moment ever. Hashtag hip hop unstoppable. The internet has seen its share of viral moments. 1 million memes, countless performances. But nothing, absolutely nothing could have prepared the world for what happened the night. Kendrick Lamar and Rakim shared the same stage. It began like whispers. Rumors spreading through fan forums. Reddit threads buzzing. Cryptic tweet from @TopDAWGNT. History doesn't repeat, it evolves. For weeks, fans speculated. What could it mean? A new Kendrick album? A surprise feature? Or was it just another marketing stunt? But behind the scenes, something bigger, something unimaginable was being planned. The God MC returns Rakim. The very name carries weight. The man who bent the English language into rhyme patterns no one had ever imagined. The one who, in the late 80s, rewrote the blueprint for rap with Paid in Full. For years, fans debated, could Rakim ever return to the main stage? Could he still command a crowd in the era of TikTok, short attention spans, and auto-tuned hooks? Answer was brewing, and it was coming fast. Kendrick, the chosen one. On the other side stood Kendrick Lamar, Pulitzer Prize winner, generational storyteller. The man who made albums like To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn into cultural landmarks. For a decade, Kendrick had carried the weight of being called the savior of hip-hop. But even Kendrick himself admitted in interviews, I stand on the shoulders of giants. Without Rakim, I'm not here. So imagine the gravity of what was about to happen. Not a battle, not a rivalry, not a bridge. The past and the present. Meeting at the exact center of history, the stage is set. The venue was massive. A stadium packed with 60,000 fans, plus millions watching via live stream. The air felt electric, like the world was holding its breath. Kendrick's set had already been legendary. He tore through DNA, humble money trees, each bar sharper than the last. Fans were losing their minds. But then the lights dimmed. The crowd went silent. A single spotlight hit center stage. And there he was, Rakim, the God MC. The architect, the legend that younger fans had only heard about in stories, standing in flesh. Mic in hand, calm, composed, but ready to erupt. First verse. Rakim leaned forward. His voice boomed. The crowd roared. This wasn't nostalgia. This wasn't an old rapper trying to relive his glory days. This was Rakim proving that even decades later, his flow was timeless. His rhymes cut like blades, his cadence shook the arena, and then the beat flipped. Kendrick walked back out, locking eyes with Rakim. The crowd screamed as two generations of greatness stood side by side. Kendrick picked up where Rakim left off, weaving in new school bars with old school precision. Line for line, flow for flow. Respect meeting innovation. It wasn't a handoff. It wasn't competition. It was unity. The internet erupts the moment Rakim and Kendrick stood together. Social media melted. Hashtags exploded instantly. Hashtag KDot and RAKIM. Hashtag greatest moment ever. Hashtag hip hop immortal. Twitter X logged nearly 5 million tweets in under an hour. Instagram feeds flooded with shaky videos of the mic handoff captioned, "This is history." Even platforms that usually ignored hip-hop culture couldn't resist. TikTok edits hit millions of views in minutes. Facebook, yes, even Facebook saw live clips shared by uncles, fathers, and teenagers alike, all screaming the same thing. You had to be there. Reddit servers crashed. Hip-hop blogs stopped mid-sentence to update headlines. Even mainstream news outlets covered it, calling it the night that bridged generations. The internet had been broken before. But not like this. This wasn't a meme. This wasn't a viral joke. This was history itself spreading in real time. Legends acknowledged legends as the clips circled the globe. Other icons chimed in. At Snoop Dogg posted, "This is what hip-hop was built for. The past, the present, the future." Salute at Rakim the God. Salute. At Kendrick Lamar, "Y'all shook the world." At Nas wrote, "The blueprint and the future. Same stage, same mic. That's what we call destiny." And then at Jay-Z broke his silence. Greatest moment in hip-hop. Might be, respect to the God and the King. Every corner of the culture, old heads, new school, casual fans, diehards united. For once, there were no debates. No generational war. Just awed at the end of part one, that night. In a stadium filled with roaring fans and across an internet drowning in disbelief, Rakim and Kendrick didn't just perform. They rewrote the story of rap. It wasn't a comeback. It wasn't a feature. It was a collision of time itself and the internet. It wasn't ready. It wasn't strong enough to contain what had just happened. The culture had been reset. Fade. Out. Voiceover. This was the beginning of something far bigger. Because when Rakim and Kendrick joined forces, hip-hop didn't just trend, it transcended. Hashtag legends unite. Hashtag KDot and RAKIM hashtag greatest moment ever. The crowd was already in. Chaos. The internet was already melting. But what came next? Pushed the moment beyond history into something mythical. Rakim didn't just perform, he commanded. His rhymes, sharp as a blade, cut through the stadium with surgical precision. His voice carried the weight of decades. A reminder that before the glitz, before the Grammys, before rap became global pop culture, there was raw poetry, and Rakim was its architect. Rakim, the God speaks, his bars weren't simple throwbacks. No, he wasn't living off nostalgia. Rakim tailored his words too. This generation weaving old-school wisdom with sharp commentary on today's industry. He spoke of watered-down flows, of rappers chasing streams instead of substance, of labels pulling the strings instead of artists owning their truth. The crowd leaned in, hanging on every syllable. Even through live streams, you could feel it. The chill that ran through every hip-hop fan hearing the God MC speak truth to power again. And then, as if the moment couldn't get heavier, Kendrick Lamar stepped forward. Kendrick, the chosen one, answers the beat flipped. Kendrick's voice tore through the silence. If Rakim was the foundation, Kendrick was the skyscraper built on top. His bars were fiery, venomous, dissecting every layer of modern-day hypocrisy. He spoke about social injustice, industry corruption, and the constant battle of being a black artist in a system designed to use and discard talent. Every bar landed like a hammer. The crowd screamed with every punchline. On Twitter, lines from Kendrick's verse were typed, screenshotted, and memed. Instantly, one fan tweeted, "Kendrick just dropped a verse that belongs in a museum." Hashtag greatest moment ever, another wrote. "The man just stood next to Rakim and held his own." This isn't rap, this is immortality. The synergy, and then the real magic happened. It wasn't just Rakim, it wasn't just Kendrick. It was both, trading lines, passing the mic like a sacred object. Each verse was like a torch, blazing brighter with every handoff. Rakim, bars rooted in history. Kendrick, bars carving the future. It was like watching two rivers collide into a tsunami. Different eras, same energy, same purpose. The chemistry was undeniable. Kendrick wasn't overshadowed. Rakim wasn't dated. Together, they elevated each other. The internet loses control. Clips of the moment went nuclear. One 20-second fan video hit 10 million views in less than 3 hours. TikTok edits showed kids discovering Rakim for the first time. Old heads flooded Instagram with captions like, "Finally, the respect is restored." Spotify reported a spike of 700% in Rakim's streams overnight. His classic Eric B. is President climbed charts again, decades after its release. Kendrick's tracks surged too. But the real story was unity. People were listening to both artists back to back, creating playlists that bridged generations. On YouTube, reaction channels cried live on camera. One said, "We just saw the father and the son of hip-hop perform together. This is the crown. This is the culture." The symbolism wasn't just a performance. It was symbolic. Rakim represented hip-hop's DNA, raw, pure, unfiltered artistry. Kendrick represented hip-hop's evolution, conscious, layered, global, yet still true to its roots. When they performed together, it told a story without needing words. Hip-hop is not dead. Hip-hop is eternal. It silenced critics who claimed rap had lost its way, silenced doubters who thought new school and old school could never coexist. That night, they proved that hip-hop is bigger than eras, bigger than sales, bigger than beef. It's a living, breathing culture that spans time itself. The aftershock while the stadium was still shaking. Phones kept buzzing. News alerts popped up. CNN, Kendrick Lamar and Rakim break the internet with surprise performance. BBC, two generations of rap collide on one stage. Complex, hip-hop's greatest moment. Fans say yes. And then came the reactions from artists watching worldwide. Dr. Dre. From the blueprint to the best in the game today. This is why we love hip-hop. Eminem, Kendrick, and Rakim. Same stage, same bars. My head's spinning. Even Drake, usually quiet in moments like this, tweeted, "Respect where it's due. This one's for the culture." The verse that broke the internet, but if one moment defined the night, it was this. Rakim rapped a bar about passing the torch without losing the flame. And Kendrick immediately responded with, "No torch needed. We burn together." That line hit the internet like a meteor. Memes, tweets, graffiti. It became a rallying cry. No torch needed. We burned together. It wasn't competition. It wasn't division. It was unity. And unity broke the internet harder than any beef ever could. End of part 2. By the time part 2 ended, it was no longer a performance. It was prophecy. Rakim reminded the world where it came from. Hina showed the world where it was going. And together, they proved that greatness doesn't fade. It multiplies when legends stand side by side, fade out. Voiceover, two voices, one culture. And bars so powerful, the world is still shaking. Hashtag KDot and RAKIM, hashtag greatest moment ever. Hashtag hip hop unbreakable. When the lights dimmed and the final notes of the beat faded into silence. The audience knew they hadn't just witnessed a show. They had witnessed history, the kind of history that becomes legend, the kind that lives in documentaries, textbooks, and whispered stories passed down between generations of hip-hop fans. Rakim and Kendrick didn't just break the internet. They rewrote the meaning of hip-hop's legacy. The silence after the storm-ass, the last echo of applause rang out. Fans inside the stadium didn't rush to the exits. They stood frozen like statues, trying to process what they had just experienced. Some cried, some cheered. Some simply held their phones high in the air, replaying their recordings over and over. On the live stream, chat boxes overflowed. Comments scrolled so fast they were unreadable. Twitch servers lagged. YouTube crashed briefly. Twitter X set. Record-breaking engagement numbers that night, more mentions of hashtag KDot and RAKIM in 24 hours than any Super Bowl halftime show in history. This wasn't just viral. This was seismic. The critics agree for once. Every critic, blogger, journalist, no matter their bias, their generation, or their angle, agreed on one thing. This was the greatest hip-hop performance of all time. Rolling Stone, hip-hop's past and present collided to create its future. Rakim and Kendrick didn't just perform, they immortalized themselves together. Billboard, this was not nostalgia. This was innovation powered by respect. A reminder that greatness doesn't expire. The Guardian generational bridges are rare in music. But when they happen, Elvis and Lennon, Michael and Prince, they become eternal. Tonight, Rakim and Kendrick joined that pantheon. Even critics outside of music weighed in. A sports analyst tweeted, "Jordan played with LeBron tonight." That's what we just saw. Hashtag greatest moment ever, the ripple effect the very next day. The ripple effect started spreading across the globe. Hip-hop sales spiked. Old-school vinyl stores reported a surge in Rakim's records. TikTok challenges emerged, not of dance moves, but of kids trying to rap Rakim's intricate flows. College professors announced plans to use the performance as a case study in music. And culture classes. Fashion blogs praised the symbolism of their outfits. Rakim in timeless, classic black, Kendrick in bold modern patterns. Two eras represented visually side by side for the first time in decades. There was no divide between old heads and new school. Everyone was in awe together. Artists inspired younger rappers took to Instagram to pay homage. At JID Bars. On another planet. Salute the legends. Back to the notebook tonight. At Corday, Rakim plus Kendrick equals blueprint plus evolution. We all just got schooled. Even pop stars couldn't resist. And Billie Eilish tweeted, "That performance broke me." This is why hip-hop rules the world. The performance became more than entertainment. It became a cultural checkpoint. Artists were inspired not to chase hits, but to chase TIMELESSNESS. The message that echoed, but what truly elevated this moment wasn't just the bars. It was the message when Rakim and Kendrick shared that mic. They weren't just rapping, they were speaking to the soul of the culture. They reminded everyone that hip-hop was never about money, trends, or clout. It was about truth, expression, power, unity. And when Kendrick said, "No torch needed," we burned together. It was clear. This wasn't about passing crowns or ending eras. It was about hip-hop's eternal fire. The message resonated beyond music. Activists quoted it. Teachers wrote it on classroom boards. Parents told their kids. This is why our culture matters. Hip-hop will never be the same after that night. Hip-hop didn't go back to business as usual. It couldn't. Labels began reconsidering their marketing strategies, realizing that authenticity had more power than gimmicks. Artists started revisiting their lyrics, pushing themselves to write with more depth, more honesty. Fans demanded substance. Over streams. Documentaries were immediately announced. Netflix, HBO, Hulu, all bidding to secure rights to the performance. Clips from the night played on repeat across every platform. It wasn't just content. It was canon. Generations united. Perhaps the most beautiful part of the moment wasn't the performance itself, but the conversations it sparked. Teenagers discovered Rakim for the first time, diving into the roots of the culture. Veterans who had grown up on Rakim found themselves listening to Kendrick with newfound appreciation. Grandfathers and grandsons sat together in living rooms, watching clips, both nodding in respect. Old heads stopped arguing about real rap versus mumble rap. Young fans stopped dismissing the past as irrelevant. For one night, one performance, the generational gap disappeared. Hip-hop wasn't divided anymore. Hip-hop was whole. The legend grows and legends grow with retelling. Every time a fan posts the clip, every time a reaction video drops, every time a lyric is quoted, the legend of Kendrick and Rakim grows. Some called it the rebirth of hip-hop. Others called it the night hip-hop reached immortality. But no matter what you call it, one thing is certain. The internet broke. But the culture healed. The end of Part 3A as the dust settled. One truth became undeniable. This was not just a performance. This was a moment that froze time. Rakim and Kendrick showed that greatness is not bound by age, era, or style. Greatness is eternal, and hip-hop, it will never, ever be the same again. Fade out. Voiceover. 2 generations. One message. A night that rewrote history. Kendrick Lamar Rakim, hip-hop's greatest moment ever. Hashtag hip-hop immortal. Hashtag KDot and RAKIM. Hashtag greatest moment ever. Kendrick bowing to the crowd. Twitter feeds exploding. This was more than music, more than a concert, more than a performance. Tonight, we saw history unfold. Rakim, the foundation. Kendrick, the evolution. Together, they didn't just perform. They broke the internet and reminded us what hip-hop really means. But this story doesn't end here, because now it's in your hands. Share the clips. Spread the message. Let the world know that hip-hop is alive, thriving, and unstoppable. Drop your favorite bar in the comments. Tag a friend who needs to witness this. And if you believe this was the greatest hip-hop moment ever, hit that subscribe, smash that like, and join the movement. Because this isn't just a video. This is culture, and culture lives forever. Hashtag KDOT and RAKIM. Hashtag greatest moment ever. Hashtag hip-hop unbreakable. Unbreakable.